everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, RM. And of course, we have with us today Russ Whitfield. Russ, how are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's just a few, I guess maybe 10 days before Christmas or even less. I'm
hmm
excited for the holiday and I can't believe that we're so close. It's actually less than that. Maybe it's Monday. A week from Monday is Christmas, which
Yes.
means that next Sunday is Christmas Eve and I'm very excited for that as well. And I do want to say hello to everybody who's here. Hello, Dino Dinosaurs here says Russ and Tom, good fortune, who were lucky enough to see Rebel Moon. Well, I'm going to go see Rebel Moon on Tuesday, and so is Russ, right, Russ?
No, no, I saw it last night.
You saw Rebel last night? How
Yeah,
was it?
I thought we were going to talk about that today. I thought you were going beforehand.
No, I'm seeing it on the 19th with Mikey Lito on Tuesday.
Oh, well, that's today's show. Screwed then, isn't it? Because I thought that was the topic of conversation. So I went off to the cinema last night to watch it. We still haven't got to the bottom of whether it's Dino or Dino, though.
We have not, and I do want you to talk about Rebel Moon. If you can do it in a non-spoiler fashion, can you?
hmm
Okay. Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear your comments, Russ. And Tom Jr. Jackson is here, my moderator, collaborator, and good friend. Tom Jr. Jackson, we are all goof people. Always good to see you here. We also have Mario Lopez is here, Russ.
Hey, Mario.
Good to see you, Mario. Hope you are well. Hope you're getting ready for the holidays. Keely Chow is here today. Keely Chow, roll tide.
Hey.
Keely, how are you, Keely? Good to see you as well. Brogu is here, Russ.
Oh, hey, man.
Brogu says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Artem and Russ. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, thank you so much, Brogu. So appreciate that. And Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington is here.
All
Says,
right, gal.
happy holiday brunchers. Happy holidays, Gary. I just love greetings right before the holidays because everybody says happy holidays. Mr. Londo's Groovy Movies as well. Greetings and felicitations. Hip, hip, hurrah. Tally ho. Yes.
Hello.
Hello to you, Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies. An old Yorkshire geek is here. That
Hey, up.
old Yorkshire geek that we love says, hi, everybody. Art, and remember to hit the go live button this week. I did. I did the old
Yeah,
Yorkshire.
just about.
We can see the clock timer ticking, so we are on. Um, yes. And good morning, Retro Nerd Girl. How are you today? Hope you are well.
My resident crush.
So good to see you, Retro Nerd Girl. Hope everything is well with you. A week until Christmas, Retro Nerd Girl. Oh my gosh, I am so excited, guys. Stavros is here. Russ
All
Stavros.
right, Stavros. How's it going?
Hope you are well, Stavros. Such a pleasure to see you. Joe Tyson is here. Says
Oh,
good.
Big Joe. We were just killing time till he got here, Joe. Don't worry about it, man. It's all good.
He says, good day, everyone. Well, good day to you, Joe Tyson. Such a pleasure to see you here in the morning. Lugnut6 is here. Hi,
hmm
Lugnut6, who says, and a big hello to a gorgeous Christmas gift of love from the heavens, with a heart and a rose, and to the boss elf himself, Russ. You have to say it like that. Russ.
My cup with Russ written on it. There we go. Let's see that.
Oh my goodness. It's so great to see all of you guys. Irene Jobson is here. Hello, Irene.
Well, I've got a message for Irene. I did send you some pictures, but yeah, so on my WhatsApp, that's me and Sam, but that's a few years ago now. So I sent you, I think, did I send you a picture of Sam? I certainly sent you a picture of me and Wendy. So there you go. Now you know.
And Irene says, good morning, everyone, especially the lovely and always gorgeous Artem. And that one bloke. Oh, Russell. Well, Irene, it's such a pleasure to see you. I know the kiddies must be excited because we're just essentially a week away from Christmas. And I'm sure they're asking you about their presents and they're asking if, Santa Claus is definitely going to come and all that good stuff. And I hope you are well too, Irene. So good to see you here. And I think Bonzo Kilborn is here. Hey, Bonzo says brunch, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube channel at Positive Fandom. It's a 5-year mission to explore historical dramas, to seek out new pop culture and fiction, to boldly brunch where no channel has brunched before. La 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 da, da. I love it, Bonzo. That's going to be part of my motto, maybe. I love it, Bonzo. You certainly, wow, I really like that. I really like that. What do you think, Russ?
I think it's awesome, man. Nice one, Bonzo. Very creative for first thing in the morning, I have to say.
We are boldly going where no brunch channel has brunch before. Bonzo, you hit the nail on the head. And certainly, I love to hear so much fun and enthusiasm on a Sunday morning. Certainly, just that positive energy comes back to all of us. And certainly, it warms me up inside. And look at this. Mikey Lito is here in the house. Hi, Mikey Lito.
My conscience returns. Hope you're feeling okay, Mikey.
Yes, Mikey Lito says happy, good morning, Russ and Arden. Everyone in the chat. Happy Sunday. Go ahead and spoil it, Russ. Campia has. No, I don't know anything about it, so don't spoil it for me. Don't you dare spoil it for me. It's weird that Campia would spoil it. Isn't there like a where people don't spoil it or something, or I don't know.
There's not a lot to spoil, to be fair, because it stops at the midpoint of the movie. But I'll talk more about it when we ask.
All right. Stubble Mashave is here. Hi, Stubble. How are you? Hope you are well today.
Hey,
Um,
Stubble.
and certainly, oh wow, a performing artist. I'm quite intrigued by that YouTube
Mhm.
name. A performing artist is here. Hello, performing artist. Welcome to Sunday Brunch. Says good morning, y'all, and happy holidays from Atlanta. Well, a performing artist. Happy holidays from New York and from the UK. We wish you all the.
I'm not sure we've seen him before, hey?
I don't
Performing.
believe we have. Welcome
Well,
to Sunday
welcome
Brunch.
aboard, and forgive me if you have been here before, but I don't recall the name, and I'm sure I would have because that's an awesome nom de voyage. So welcome, welcome. Introduce yourself. So come in, say hello, ask some questions. It's all good, man.
Yes, absolute mall, Russ. It certainly is. And you are so welcome here. Here on Sunday Brunch, a performing artist. So glad to have you here. Jamin D is here. Hey, Jamin, how are
Yo,
you? And oh, and I have to say this. Lugnut says, I got some good news. I got my first apartment. Yes,
congratulations,
Lugnut.
man.
So happy for you. I know that feeling. I remember when I got my first apartment and I got mail at my first apartment and I was like,
Mm.
"Oh my god, I got mail at my first apartment." It was great. You're going to have all those good fun times, lug nuts. Live it up. Live it up, lug nuts. It's a time you'll never get back after that first apartment, lug nuts. And it's going to be wonderful. Um, and Stubble McShay says, which places have people never brunched before? I've brunched all over the world, guys. I'm going to be traveling even more in 2024. So brunch is going to be even more international than it is now. Um, and I'm looking forward to that over the next year, especially going 2024 going into 2025. It's going to be great. Marco, how are you? Says I'm off to see Godzilla -1 in a couple of hours. Can't wait. Um, yeah, I think is it -0, -1. I can't remember that. Is it -1?
I don't
Gosh.
know, man. I saw a trailer for it last night though, and it looked really good.
Marco, everybody's talking about how amazing this film is. Marco, you're going to have a great time, and Marco, I hope you are well. I always see you going off to. I could be wrong, but it looks like you're going off to football games. I could be wrong on that, but I do see some of your posts on Facebook. I think it's you having fun and enjoying it. So that there is that. And I think that might be everybody who's. Oh,
No,
Luminara!
Luminara.
Luminara, the queen of figure flex is here, and my absolute favorite cosplayer. How are you, Luminara? Sure hope you are well, my dear. So nice to see you here this morning. It's such a pleasure. I finally met Luminara at New York Comic Con this year, and she is such a delight and a fantastic cosplayer. So good to see you here, Luminar. And I do want to wish you a happy holidays. I can't even speak. A happy holidays in case I don't see you guys next Sunday. I'm
And
not
what
going.
what was she cosplaying as?
One of the characters from the new Spider-Man animated feature.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, is one of the coolest, it was it's just spectacular. I can't get over how beautiful her costume was, and
Mhm.
I featured her on my recap for New York Comic Con. She's on the cover, like, on the thumbnail, and I talked about how fantastic her costume is, and she is also such a lovely woman. Luminar, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Um, Marco says he has been to a lot of football. Yeah, I keep seeing you, and like you put the map of where it is, and you're like, "We're going to the football," and I'm like, "Wow, he goes to a lot of football."
Do we
I
know
hope
what his team is?
I have no idea. Marco, please tell Russ who your team is. But it looks like you and your friends are having a great time going to these games. So that is pretty cool. I still have fan chants on my phone. So if I ever do actually make it to a UK football game, I know what songs to sing. That's the most important thing for me.
You're shit, and you know you are. It's all gone quiet over there. You're not singing. You're not singing anymore. Who's the wanker? Who's the wanker in the black? There's so many.
There are a lot. That's why you need the app. It's called Fan Chants,
Mhm.
and it'll tell you what thank you so much. Luton Town, a player collapsed yesterday. Oh my god.
Yes, and I know this, and I knew that before anybody else, apart from the people at the game, obviously, because my daughter was covering that game yesterday for one of her jobs at Sky Sports. So I was immensely proud. She said, "Oh my God, Dad, you never guess what happened." But yeah, no, he's collapsed before, that chap. But yeah, so I wish him a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. That is unbelievable. Gee, what a thing to say, and really concerned about these players. Um, Mike Alito says Major League Soccer is about to screw up, pulling onto the U.S. Open, I guess, Cup,
I don't understand that because
pulling.
isn't the US Open a golf thing?
No, there is also, it's not just golf, there's tennis, it's more than just that, but, um, maybe, he means something else. He means pulling out of the US Open. Maybe there's something about it that's gonna cause
You'll have
problems.
to extrapolate, Mikey. Now I'm confused.
Oh, and Mikey says, "My keyboard gets fixed tomorrow."
Clearly, it needs it.
Mario says, "I finally watched the last Indiana Jones movie. It's bad and stupid. Disney is ruining everything we like." Yeah, it's a special type of film, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Sorry you had to go through that, Mario, but yeah.
But wasn't there that sort of open letter from Nelson Peltz the other day that tore a strip out of Bob Iger and the whole thing? Like he's trying to launch this hostile takeover. So I don't know if do you know about that, Oren?
I've read a lot of Disney news and seen a lot of different things, and a lot of the
Well,
reports outside of Disney themselves haven't been correct. So I haven't really been watching, let's say,
mhm.
or reading very many articles until something actually happens, because of there's been so much information that hasn't come to fruition. So no.
Oh, well, this was just a letter sent by Nelson Peltz and another guy,
Hmm.
Romero, I think his name was. He ran parks for I don't know, 20 years or 30 years or something like that. So the guy knows Disney inside out. But Peltz was basically saying, leveled the blame at Bob Iger, and he said, "Look, we haven't been really profitable for this many years, and the incumbent has been in position for X amount, for that entire amount of time, apart from an 11-month period, because it seems that the Disney strategy or the Iger sanction is to sanction the other Bob, whatever his name was. What was his name? JPEG,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
blame everything that's gone wrong all on him. And Peltz has turned around and go, no, you fucker. It's not. It wasn't him. It's you. It's always been you, and You've ruined this. You've run this into the ground. Everybody hates us. We are no longer sustainably profitable. We need a new hand at the board. That'll be me, and that'll be my mate Dave here, whatever his name was. The other guy's name I can't remember. And the board needs a new direction. And he also cites that um, cronyism. He doesn't mention cronyism, but he basically says, you've staffed the entire board with your mates. and there's nobody there that really know, like, yeah, sure, there's, pharmaceutical guys on there, but what do they know? So it appears that there will be an attempt of a hostile takeover to return Disney to its family values place.
Well, I the only thing I can liken this to is w- the let's say it's not exactly the same thing, but there's this channel that makes cheesy Christmas movies called Hallmark. Are you familiar
Mm.
with this channel,
Yeah, I love the
Russ?
Hallmark Channel. Come on, man.
Okay.
Who doesn't like a Hallmark movie? I mean, you know exactly what you're going to get. Some tough businesswoman returns home to her hometown where normally something's happening and she's normally a lawyer or she has to do something. And then there's the guy, and normally a guy from her past, the one that got away that she didn't really like in high school, but then he proves that he's all right. And then they're just about to get together. And then something happens and makes her realize that he's not really the guy. But of course, that's only the calm before the storm, and they break into the final act and then they get together at the end. That is every Hallmark movie, and God bless them for it.
Absolutely, and that's the formula, not unlike the way Disney used to be, where they would have a beautiful formula. As Irene says, I miss Disney around this time of year because they had a great formula where you could always count on a Disney film, and you used to be able to enjoy it. Pretty much depend on Disney for excellent content. And it's not so much that Hallmark is not doing that. Hallmark does still provide excellent content.
Mhm,
However, they were shying away from what some people considered the spirit of Christmas, which is that it is actually based, let's say, for some people, it's a religious holiday. For some people, not for everybody, but for some people, Christmas, they go to church
mhm,
or do whatever kind of celebration they want
mhm,
to celebrate it in a religious manner. And so there was this other channel that's come up called American Family, where they actually focus on the faith-based part of Christmas,
mhm,
not too different from Angel Studios, which has kind of decided that they're going to focus on faith-based stuff. So why am I mentioning this? I would rather than someone go ahead and do a hostile takeover of Disney, go ahead and make your own studio and do it right. And don't deal with people who don't have the same vision as you. And sometimes when you try to force people to have your vision, you end up with mistakes. You end up with, shows that don't have the same value. So I disagree with anybody trying to go in there and trying to take over. I think that let them go and pursue their vision. This is what they want to do. There's plenty of space for other people to create, just like what we're seeing with Angel Studios, with A24, with a bunch of these other companies that make their own stuff, and they don't have to, necessarily try and change somebody else from what the direction they're going in, especially when they proclaim to be quite happy about where they're going. So that's my point of view on it,
Well,
from that point of view.
couple of things there. First of all, Mikey's answered my football question, so we'll go back to that in a minute. But when it comes to your stance on pelts and Disney, 9 times out of 10, I'd agree with you. But this time I can't, and I can't agree with you simply because Disney owns so many of the properties that I love. Marvel, Star Wars, Aliens, Predator, you name it. You go down the list, and then the deeper you dive into that, you suddenly realize that they own another thing that you like, and another thing that you like, and another thing that you like. And the direction that they've been going in over the past 5, 6, 7 years has not been copacetic. And yeah, like 20th Century Fox, as Mario just said, which is Aliens and Predator and all of those and all of those properties, and Star Wars as well, which is nice Lucasfilm now, isn't it? What's my point? My point is, if you were then going to abandon ship and say, fine, I could live without Marvel because I'd never really made mine Marvel. I'm always more about DC. So I love the Marvel films up until Endgame, but now I couldn't care less. But the things like Star Wars that they've really trashed, they've ruined it beyond all shadow of a doubt. Wouldn't it be brilliant if someone like Nelson Peltz came in, and you can only hope, because we thought this about David Zaslav, and that just ended up to be a damp squib as far as the Snyder faithful are concerned. But you kind of hope if somebody new came in, they'd go, "No, we're not doing this anymore." Yeah, World Between Worlds. No, sequels happen on another thing. Yeah, we're going to bring them back with CGI. We swear that we will do right by them. We will only have their image rights for this one film. We want to set right what once went wrong. Blah, blah, blah. They'd have the fan base eating out of their hands, wouldn't they? Whether they would do that or not, whether they would retcon all these things like Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap, I don't know. But yes, are normally, yeah, but not when they own so much. Not when they own so much. But maybe these things, okay, let's say the Delson Peltz thing doesn't happen. Maybe they'll have to start selling some of this off, or letting the rights out to other people, because they're not doing fabulously. Yeah, that's one of the things Nelson Peltz cites. He said, look, paraphrasing, you don't have to believe me. Look at our share price. It's an arrow, and it's only going one way. Anyway, what does Mikey say here? Russ, the US Open is like the FA Cup. Okay, it's the country's oldest ongoing national competition. What, they're not doing it anymore?
It seems like they don't want to be involved. And you make such a good point with that, Russ, because just like you, I am, kind of fond of Star Wars. What am I saying? Kind of. I love Star
Mm,
Wars.
mm.
So yeah, I agree with what you're saying as well. So I guess I'm contradicting myself.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's the sad thing about the state of Disney Star Wars is that they can do good stuff. Mandalorian season 1, awesome. Mandalorian season 2, awesome. Rogue One, awesome.
Andor.
Andor, awesome. Everything else, shit, except for The Force Awakens. Now, I know everyone looks back on The Force Awakens going, "No, no, 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 it was garbage, it was garbage." And it kind of was. It was a complete retread of the first one, and it was sort of rubbish. But you know, really, at that time, everyone was excited, and everyone gave it a bit of a pass, and everyone realised that it was a remake, sort of ish. But there were lots of questions: who's the Snoke guy? What's going to happen with Kylo Ren? Okay, who are Rey's parents? Is she a Kenobi? Is she a Skywalker? Is she this? And of course, then the fat-headed simpleton came along and just wrecked it. And often I've seen recently, on retrospectives of it and all that sort of thing, and the general consensus is, if JJ had been allowed to finish Star Wars, or if they had followed his sort of plan with Trevorrow and all that sort of thing, it would have been okay. But okay is not what we want
Right.
from Star Wars. And it's kind of like, be careful what you wish for. Because I remember being younger, and there was talk of a George Lucas Star Wars Underworld or something like that, and I was just so excited to imagine what Star Wars on TV would be like. It'd be so good to have, like, a season of Star Wars, and how great it would be. But actually, now we've got Star Wars on TV, I kind of wish we didn't. It seems to have become a sort of fractured TV franchise, but we can only hope that it gets better.
And I think that there were things like video games and books written by very talented authors, very talented writers, the guys who
Sorry.
probably wrote a good portion of the movies that we've seen. They've actually, some of them have written portions or outlines of the movies that we love, and
Mhm.
worked with, the rest of the writing team on the movies themselves. So there are versions of Star Wars films that were written by many of the authors who wrote these books.
Mm.
So they know what they're talking about, or at least they have a vision, and that vision, is discussed by the creator, who I'm saying, George, by the creators, let's say the original teams. So it's a huge collaborative situation. But I think it is very interesting how there are people who have every single Star Wars book,
Mm.
and that's kept them through. And then video games and all sorts of events, Star Wars Celebration, through the years, different conventions that have kept the fan base alive when movies and TV were not available, right, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of points to unpack there. Are And I was reminded as you were talking, actually, it's the first time this has actually occurred to me. First of all, Chef Nation says that Adam Driver interview spoke volumes. And while we're on the topic, no need to move off, but yes, it absolutely did, because Adam Driver basically confirmed what Daisy Ridley had said, like Kylo was supposed to have this whole arc and then he didn't, because they changed everything. I think in the case of Disney, when you were talking about the expanded universe, or Legends as it's now called, it's almost similar to a sort of James Gunn Snyderverse situation, where Disney have turned around to a massive portion of the fan base and gone, sorry, anyone who's listening, I just stuck up two fingers at the camera. It's like, yeah, fuck off. We don't care what you think. We don't care that you love this property. We absolutely give zero craps about you and your 20-year investment in this that has kept the franchise alive, because you know what, we know better.
And we knew that that was the case when there was a YouTuber who got kind of ridiculed by someone in Disney, where he talked about how he responded to Luke's appearance at the end of the Mandalorian season 2, I think.
Yeah, it's
And
theory.
yes,
He's got more subscribers than the Star Wars channel. This guy.
and
Uh,
he
Geez, and
was
he's
so,
fucking jacked as well. He's massive.
yeah, and he was so touched by what happened, and in the episode, and he was kind of ridiculed for it, like, or at least for something like that. But then that's when I kind of like was like, they don't, there isn't the vision that many of the fans have is not what they have. But I do want to read some of these comments, guys. I'm going to read some of your comments because
Okay.
you guys actually have a lot of good comments today, especially you always do. But Stavros says, I still can't. I'm assuming he's saying I still can't believe Marvel would have the audacity to hire a criminal. The vetting process complete fail on all levels. Thank you, Stavros, for mentioning that. I'm not quite sure who
I
you're
don't know what
referring to.
that is either, Stavros. Do you want to enlighten us?
Absolutely do that. And I saw all your comments about um football. Thank you, Bonzo. Talks about how dangerous it can be. Yes, it can be a dangerous sport. Um, uh, whether it's American or soccer or whatever. I don't know how these athletes do it. Bonzo, thank you for mentioning that. Irene says they're getting a new PC for Christmas. We already have the console table set up and chair. The kids and cats think it's theirs to play on and display Godzilla's. I love it, Irene. I can see this them enjoying themselves. Stubble says that he watched Bosch on Amazon. It's pretty good. It's a series that Mike Alito has been talking about how fantastic it is, and I'm so glad that you've watched it, Stubble, and let us know to concur with Mike Alito. Gary Panda Sandwich Worthington says hashtag blame Bob. Tom Jr. Jackson says, I don't hate Disney. Yeah, and I think overall your sentiment is how most people feel. It's perhaps the vision and the leaders that they're not happy with,
Not
not
even.
necessarily the idea of Disney.
I don't hate Disney either. I don't
Yes.
care. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that Disney has got. It's the absolute apathy when it comes to Star Wars, when it comes to Marvel. The two biggest franchises in the history of everything. I think even bigger than Lord of the Rings, right? I mean, there must be. And even if they're not, they're two of the biggest franchises ever, and nobody cares.
And I think it's bigger only because Lord of the Rings is a more mature story, and Disney was aimed towards children.
Mm.
So, like it's a different type of market and a different, let's say marketing thing. You have a broader audience that you can do it. Whereas, mind you, Lord of the Rings, I think kids are watching that, but you may not put it on during a party with a whole bunch of children.
No, no, no,
Even
you
though I
wouldn't. But
want to.
like there used to be. I've heard the drinker and co say often about this, and and they're absolutely correct, right? Um, I remember him. He was talking about the Marvels, and I thought this is such a brilliant analogy. Like he's those guys have basically built a career on hating Disney, right? And they were talking about the Marvels, and the drinker is analogous to this. He says basically, imagine you're in high school and there's that one guy and he bullied you and made your life miserable and you just hated him and you always wanted to get even. And then fast forward 20, 30 years or whatever, and you run into him again, and he's, just a burned out shell of a man. He's a mess. His life is going nowhere, and you're happy and you're successful, and he's miserable. And you never feel like, yeah, you just sort of feel, oh, you just feel a bit sorry for it. And that was his uh, analogy on the Marvels. Like he just felt sad that that it had come to this, essentially. And they often say on those live streams, it's just apathy. It's just complete apathy. Like, oh, great, another Star Wars show that is essentially a trailer for the next Star Wars show. And they haven't made a movie in a number of years because they don't know what to do. And it's precisely the same with Marvel. No one's particularly excited about their slate of new stuff. Marvel don't know what to do. So this is where we're at, and we hope that this guy Peltz will hopefully change it. Anyway,
I hope so as well. You know, I hope that it goes in a positive direction, as far as, everyone's concerned. Mr.
mm,
Londell's Groovy Movie says, remember when Disney was this 1,000-pound gorilla? Well, it's lost a bunch of weight and looks anemic. Retro Nerd Girl says, I love Hallmark movies. Yes, we love them. And I just think they're fantastic. But also check out American Family, which is another channel. If you want, for those of you who you don't have to, but if you want a more faith based version, check out American Family, where they will say the word God and, show a church or a shul, like they will show religious things in it, if that's what you want to see. Um, Mike Alito says the U.S. Soccer could pull MLS Division One certification over the pullout. Not good for a league that aspires to join the Premier League. Wow, could you, Matt? The United States could join the Premier League?
I'm not. I think he means on a level. I've certainly haven't heard any talk about that. But then I don't really follow football anymore, to be honest with you. But the point being is for lower league clubs that are not in Division One or the Premier League, if you like, or MLS, the top one, LA Galaxy and all those guys. The idea is if you I couldn't name a lower league side in the United States, but we had a lower league side in England here. We mentioned it was Luton, right? The FA Cup, they put all the football teams in. It's like a lottery, and they put them all in a hat in a bubbly ball thing, and then they pluck the balls out. So if you're Luton and you get an FA Cup tie at Manchester City or Manchester United or Arsenal or Liverpool, that's massive for your club because all of a sudden you've got television, you've got many more fans that would never even bother going to see Luton Town. All of a sudden, everyone's like behind it, and if they win that game and they go on, then they get to play a higher team, and so and so and so. So it's massive. So I think what he's alluding to here is if the Division One, the top teams, why can I only think of New York of LA Galaxy? Come
I
on,
can
man.
only think of I can only think of that. I'm sure there are other names of teams.
There are, and I just can't. There's the Miami one, isn't there? That Beckham just bought, and he's trying to get off the ground. Anyway, but if the big boys pull out of it, the ones that everybody follows, and you're supporting Akron, Ohio, and they're in Division Two, Akron Akron might get to play LA Galaxy in Los Angeles, and that'll just be a packed stadium and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for Akron, which they're now not going to get if the Division One pulls out.
Oh, I get it now.
Hmm.
So they are gonna be losing a ton of money at a time where they really can't even afford to lose a ton of money.
Hmm.
Um, Stavros, thank you, Stavros, for mentioning this, says he has, unfortunately, a deep hatred for Bob Paycheck because of the forced lesbian fetishism into making woke projects ruined 100 years of Disney in 3 years. I think there could have been, if they want to pull in lesbianism in Disney, yeah, there's so much in this, Stavros, that you've said, but you're very specific. And Stavros, I have to give you some credit for being incredibly specific about why. And this is very interesting because and I'm not going to harbor on this too much, but Russ, a lot of people, we not in our chat, not here, but many people in other shows have said how they dislike something. Stavros is very specific about why.
Mm.
And you're perfectly entitled to not to be upset with them over this. And I think if thank you for at least saying the reasons why you're just not on board with this. This is not for you. And they didn't have to do this, and they really didn't have to do it the way that Disney did it. There's a market for that type of content, but I'm not quite sure whether children are the market for that type of content. This is my comments about your comments, Stavros. I don't believe that children are the market for this type of content. And that's why I personally am very surprised by what Disney has been doing regarding this. Russ, do you have a comment about it?
Um, only to say that, lots of people talking in vagaries about this, and a lot of people say about people like I guess myself and people like Stavros and all that sort of thing, that that these, we're just gatekeepers, and we're just old men that don't like things from our childhood changing and evolving. And I would actually say that there may have been some merit to that argument, but the problem with it is everything that they're doing, or 90 or 80% of what they're doing, is absolute crap. So you're not going to have these younger people coming into it and taking up the gauntlet and doing exciting new stories, because what the hell is there to get into? I mean, the films are so these days, that what is there to excite people? So, but yeah, Stavros does really drill down into the details, that's for sure.
Yeah, and thank you, Stavros, for doing that. A lot of people, you're not the only one, Stavros, who has this sentiment, who feels this way about what's been done. And thank you for pointing that out. Retro Nerd Girl says Lifetime is also picking up the slack for Christmas movies too, and I'm loving it. Yes, I love that Lifetime is doing that as well. I wonder if the companies are connected somehow. I think that the desire to produce Christmas movies, holiday films is so important. They also do, after the holidays, we're going to see a lot of sort of romance films where it's Valentine's Day kind of enjoyment and excitement. I think it's wonderful that we're seeing films that celebrate life. And you already mentioned the formula, Russ, about how these films are made. And they do cater to a female audience. I admit that. But I also think that many of them are family oriented. They want you to celebrate with family. They want you to get back together with people you care about. And I think that that's also a positive message overall.
Well, I do
From
think that the companies like this and like Angel Studios, what was the one you just mentioned?
Yes, it was Angel Studios,
No, no, no,
Lifetime,
and the other
Angel,
one,
Hallmark.
and
Um,
who does the Christian one as well? You were saying about
American Family.
American Family, right? Now, I've never heard of American Family, clearly,
Yes.
because I just completely forgot what they were called. But there is a market there, as much as, and I hate to use the term, but I'll have to use it, as Gary would describe woke Hollywood doesn't want it to be true. Fact of the matter is by and large, America is upholds Christian values. I'm not going to say it's a completely Christian country, of course it isn't, but the sort of Christian morality and all that sort of thing. It's the same as the United Kingdom. The Western civilization is kind of built on Christian values to a greater or lesser extent. And there's a market for something wholesome. There's a market for things like this that don't espouse uh, modern day identity politics. Let's just put it that way. That films that don't place modern day identity politics at the forefront of their story, and their story is about modern day identity politics.
Absolutely, Russ, and I was just showing you guys that this is their website. It's called the Great American versus Great American Family. Is a channel. It's a cable syndicated channel. They're doing extremely well on cable for the season because people want to see more things like this.
Mhm.
Tonight's movie that they're premiering is called The 12 Games of Christmas. It's Christmas with a Jumanji theme. I can't wait to see it. Last night's show was this one called Designing Christmas. It says premiere tonight. It was actually last night.
Mm.
And then they have just like they have a book club, they have a bunch of different events. And when you turn on the channel, the cable channel, they have the Advent calendar for those of us who like Advent, who celebrate Advent. They have an Advent calendar that pops up, and it is kind of fun to kind of see those things if you follow Advent. But I'm so looking forward to this 12 games of Christmas
Mm.
on the channel. Here you can see some of the oh yes. Oh yes, I do want to also mention this one, Russ, because how many movies, and I admit I'm guilty of this. I'm totally guilty. Retro Nerd Girl, please chime in when you understand what I'm talking about. Yes, we have romanticized the royal, Christmas, where here it's a royal Christmas holiday. Somehow, there's always like four or five movies where there's some kind of royal family, and they need someone to take care of the kids, or there's a prince who's looking for a princess, and of course he meets this American chick
Hmm.
who happens to be, the perfect girl for him, but he's engaged to some other royal person. And then, they meet each other, they have this romance, and he ends up with this American chick. Like, they did this way before Meghan Markle even stepped into the picture. So there's probably hundreds of these films between Lifetime, Hallmark, American Family, of course, as I'm showing you the one now, and and on and on and on, where we revisit this fantasy. And I'm not going to say that I'm like it's ridiculous fantasy. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is that I watch every single one of those, especially the nanny one, where it's a like a prince or a king who has children, and they don't get along with their nanny, and then all of a sudden this American chick pops up who's in between jobs,
Hmm.
and she's the perfect person to take care of these children, although she has none of her own. All of a sudden the kids are totally endearing to her. She's perfect for her, for the kids. And then the family doesn't approve, and then the prince decides that this girl has to be his queen. So it's totally fantasy. This is like never going to happen, although I kind of feel it did maybe once, but it's totally like not going to ever happen.
Prince
However,
Edward and Wallace Simpson. It happened.
yeah, yeah. However, we watch it 100 million times. Russ, they're probably writing about 50 of these right now.
Hmm.
Different scenarios, not just the UK, but made up kingdoms that they create. It's just, I have to say that it's okay to have these fantasies and just kind of enjoy it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I did want to say that as long as they stick to this formula where it's wholesome and it's not it's appropriate for what you're expecting in the story, that's fine. But I did want to mention American Family. I just showed you American Family, and as I said, they're focusing more on that religious based content. That was very long-winded, and I'm sorry about that. Mikey Lita says, I like Luke McFarlane's appearance in Hallmark movies. Yes, this is something else that I want to mention. Many of the stars, including a former Superman, have been in a Hallmark movie as a love interest.
Dean
So
Kane.
I'm sorry?
Dean Kane.
If it wasn't Dean Kane, it was the other guy who was in Superman Returns. What was his
Oh,
name?
Brandon Routh.
Yes, he was in a Hallmark film, and he was fantastic in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Superman is in a Hallmark film. But people want to see these stars from yesteryear in these romance films where they're looking for love. They want to see these guys. Not that they would ever be looking for love because they're too attractive,
Hmm.
but oh, I'm so incredibly attractive and I'm single. So are you, incredibly attractive single male.
Who'd
Gosh,
have
how does
thought
that?
it? Wow. Christmas miracle. Two insanely hot people find love.
And are actually single. Like, this is
Mm.
it's just not. Thank you, Mikey Lito. Joy. Um for those, yes. But something, I think it's very interesting. And Irene talks about based on a true story, a lifetime true story. Yes, I've watched so many of those as well.
Was
Bonzo
that me?
says,
Was that meme I saw? Was people say that diamonds are a girl's best friend, and they're completely wrong. It's chocolate and true crime stories.
yes, it is. She didn't know that that man was going to do, yes, we love that stuff. It
Mm.
is true. Um, Bonzo says Disney has a lot of investors, and those people are losing a ton of money. That is a good point, Bonzo. A lot of people have their whole retirements wrapped up in Disney investments, and that is another reason to be unhappy with the people who are running the business.
Well, this is
And
it. But, do we know? I don't know the ins and outs of it,
I
and I'm
don't
sure
either.
someone like Mexican Iron Man would know the ins and outs of it. But Disney have a credit line with BlackRock and on all those companies. And we've spoken about this before, how BlackRock said, you know, essentially, if you don't hit our ESG quotas, then we're not going to do business with you. So that's their credit line. Because obviously, you know, no one has hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to make a film. This is all like on the never never that they have to pay back. So that's the one side of it. That's their credit line. But then you've got on the other side of it, you've got big investors like Nelson Peltz and small investors like you and me. But none of those investors are making money because nobody wants that kind of content anymore. Or certainly people, I don't think people mind that kind of content. I just think when it's so poorly done and so poorly handled and all of the things that we talked about before, so you might lose your credit line, but you know you're not making any money anyway, so your investors are going to start looking elsewhere, aren't they?
It and it is it
I love
is
his I love his avatar. Sorry,
yeah, I love it too. Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning. I can't
it's the greatest people, most beautiful people, the
people.
greatest podcast.
Everybody's beautiful.
Yeah,
Positive fandom is beautiful. You're
yeah,
so beautiful.
yeah.
You. um, we have not spoken about Doctor Who yet, and you know, I have for the most part. I love Doctor Who up until that Rosa Parks featured episode. That
Mhm.
really, just it bothered me. I didn't find it entertaining. Let's just put it that way. I didn't. It wasn't entertaining. It was just we have to be here just to prove a point, and I was like, that's not what happens. That's not cool, you know. And not. It also didn't feel very science fiction ish to me. Science fictiony
Mhm.
me, but you know, that's how I felt about that. And Old Yorkshire Geeks talking about Patrick Stewart as Ebenezer Scrooge. I loved him in that.
Yeah, that was really good. That
He
was really
does
good.
such a great job. And Mario Lopez is 20th Century Fox.
It's one of the companies that Disney owns. That was back then when we were talking about that.
God, and I was watching another channel that did a Hallmark movie. I'm trying to think of the channel. QVC, the Home Shopping Networks, and QVC are even doing their own Christmas movies occasionally. But um, yeah, talking about having to sell off pieces of, you know, what it's just really sad to hear them talking about having to sell things. And Mario Lopez says Disney is like Gecko. Is it Gecko?
Is it Geico? Is that your telecoms
Buys and
company?
destroys everything? I'm not sure. Mario, maybe you could elaborate a little bit. And Mikey Ludo says his favorite version of A Christmas Carol is a 1951 Alistair Sim, and it is coming on tonight, Mikey Ludo, on Turner Classic Movies, in case you wanted to watch it again. Yes, A Muppet Christmas Carol is always great. I think I did a watch party with Retro and with Lorena on that one, I think. Oh, and Tom Jr. Jackson says, you mean people freaking out because the new doctor is wearing a kilt and the internet is thinking it's a skirt? My opinion is do the homework and find out what a kilt is. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea about the skirt.
Probably most of the people that watch Doctor Who aren't smart enough to do that, Tom, because they're male presenting, and everybody knows that anybody who's male presenting in the Doctor Who universe is an absolute moron, including the Doctor, because it's
Ouch.
canon. It's canon now, isn't it? He's been told in no uncertain terms a male presenting Time Lord is stupid.
Well, Mancolito says that the Scrooge transformation is outstanding. I watch it every year as his transformation occurs at midnight. Absolutely. Michaelito, I know what you're talking about. I put it on at midnight to mimic, since it's Christmas Eve. And I'm guessing, Michaelito, that you also celebrate Christmas starting on Christmas Eve like we do. I put it on at midnight, and it's just I let it coincide with the ghosts as 1 o'clock goes and 2 o'clock goes, and we start to open up our presents sometimes at that time. And Mario Lopez says at least it was a fun movie. Old Yorkshire Geek, in hindsight, TFA has been knocked down a few notches, but at the time I loved it with one or two provisions.
Yeah, and you're not alone, mate. You're not alone. Everyone came out of that thinking, "Oh, it's a bit like Star Wars, wasn't it? You know, desert planet, you know, chosen one, blah blah blah." Oh, but it's interesting. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, and Chef Nation says that Adam Driver interview spoke volumes.
It's the greatest interview of Adam Driver, the best interview I've ever seen.
The I liked Adam Driver was on SNL where he played Undercover Boss, and he was Undercover Boss as
As
Kylo
Kylo
Ren.
Ren, yeah, that was awesome. That
It was
was
fantastic.
beyond awesome. It was actually better than the film, really, wasn't it?
It was great because remember the girl wanted to become a pilot, and she's like, "I wanna get into the pilot program. I know I'm better than this. I don't have to just, be inside this giant spaceship. I wanna be a pilot." And so he gets her into the program. Kylo Ren gets her into the program, and I think he gives her a gift, and she's like, "Oh, no, I don't want that." She's like, "I wanna be like Luke Skywalker." And he's like, "F that." Like, he takes her out. I was like, "This is really funny," like the
Mm.
notion of where he's like, changes have to be made, like it's how do you make a change if you're Kylo Ren? Like, it was really, really funny. And I
I haven't
think
seen it
it
for the longest time. I must watch it again actually because I remember I really did enjoy. I love that sort of thing anyway. You know.
he was great as his character. I think he embodied the baddie. He was a good baddie, so to speak. He was an excellent villain. That's more of what I
Well,
should say.
I mean, the guy just he's dripping with talent. So like it's kind of like when they've got the ridiculous story, like he in and of himself is magnetic, even if the rest of the thing is a damn squib.
Yeah, and this is very interesting that Stavros says, no worries, he does his research before I type my comments, even with English being my second language, which I did not know, Stavros. I imagine you speak several languages, Stavros. Luke Skywalker, you disrespect him, you disrespect me. Yeah. And he could have slaughtered the Knights of Ren. We know that. We know he could have done it at the drop of a hat. I think there's one thing that's been consistent, but in a bad way, since since Disney has taken over a lot of these franchises, is the inconsistency in strength of different characters. So a character will overtake one, and you're like, "There's no way that could happen," and that happens time and time again, and it's confusing. I think
Well,
it's confusing for the audience to see where you would expect someone to be able to defeat somebody, and then they either don't or they get defeated, and or a bad guy is not strong. Like, it's so confusing to me. I don't know. I don't
I
What do
would
you think?
argue that Disney are extremely consistent in this. Actually, are I would say that they'll take a character from the past to insert into their new franchise. Let's take Star Wars as a for instance. So they know by including legacy characters in their new iteration of Star Wars, that will then that will bring the OG fans in. And consistently, if you take Han Solo, if you take Luke Skywalker, if you take Nick Fury, and any other one of these legacy characters that happen to be of a certain demographic, they're inevitably, oh, Indiana Jones is another one. They're inevitably past it, depressed, finished, nothing like they were at all in the past, and nobody is. But they're absolutely pathetic wastrels who have no business doing this stuff anymore. This hero business, this being a good person business. They're just to be thrown on the scrap heap. But don't worry, because they have a better replacement that you need to love more than these old characters, and that is across the board. And that's why people like Stavros are fed up with it. And the counter accusation is you're just gatekeepers, and it's like, no, what you've done is not good. And moreover, it's like you're getting ripped off. Here you are, we're dangling Luke Skywalker in front of you. Come and see our film. Okay, great. I'll come see your film. But wait a minute. Why have you just what? What? Why is Luke Skywalker? What? He's dead now. Oh, okay. Cheers. Thanks, Disney. I guess I'll go and see the third one. And guess what? Half as many people did. So there we go. Anyway, Irene.
Irene for a $5 super chat. Irene says a little Christmas magic, just a little there for you. Thank you, Irene. I will take that Christmas magic. Thank you so much for the
It's very
$5
sweet.
super chat and the Christmas tree. I love it, Irene. Such a wonderful gift. Thank you so much, Irene. I so appreciate it. So kind of you. Thank you. Gosh, I
She's a
love that.
lovely person, is young Irene. Got a lot of time for her.
Absolutely. I so appreciate it. Um, yes, I'm so glad that you did that. Um, And Tom says, I've liked what Star Wars has put out, and they didn't have to follow whatever new path he set up for the new films.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
that is true.
that's a number two. Or someone was commenting about George Lucas set up a, you know,
Absolutely. And Mikey Lito says that last Star Wars film was abominable. 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 Sorry,
I haven't
abominable.
seen it. I just listened to people talking about it, so I know exactly what happens in the film because it was covered in minute detail by many channels. But it was one of the first. Was it one of the first? No, perhaps not. But I've actively started making a choice now to just not bother. Remember when you made me watch the first couple of episodes of She-Hulk and things like that, and I was just like, "No, Rita, I'm not. No, I'm just not
I had to
spending my."
watch it just to see what they were doing, and
Yeah,
it was disappointing that they didn't. One of the anticipations was that they were going to use um, the actual superheroes' experiences in the courtroom. That's what I was expecting to see as evidence. So, although we saw superheroes in the courtroom, what was supposed to happen is the supporting evidence to She-Hulk's defense would have been citations from instances that happened to other superheroes, and that's not the case at all. That none of that happened. We didn't see any of that cool stuff that would make sense in the courtroom pertaining to
yeah.
superheroes.
I
So,
but my point is, I just don't. So with the Rise of Skywalker, I just thought, well, this is just why I'm not. Fuck it, I'm not going to watch it, and that was it, and I just didn't bother.
yeah, it was unfortunately a disappointing situation for many people. Um And Mr. Londo says that, gee, it was a bad move that they did. Um, and for them, I would say that they could have made much more money had they gone a different route. And yeah, Irene was saying she forgot that the way that you say "f off," which this is the way we say it, and this is the way you say
Hmm.
it, is different.
We use that one as well.
Oh, you do?
We
Okay.
do, yeah.
Okay. And Tom says he watches all of them
You know where
once
that
a
comes
year.
from?
No.
Okay, so in the Middle Ages, England was famous for having excellent. England and Wales were famous for having excellent archers, and we were always giving the French a real hard time. So when you draw a bow, you draw it with those two fingers, and you pull the bow back, and you loose the arrow. So before the battle against the French, the English began, because if they caught them, they cut these two fingers off.
Oh, oh,
But
ouch.
then you couldn't draw
Right,
your
you
bow
couldn't draw
again.
it back.
Mm.
Um, if you do this and you do this, it has a different meaning.
It does. It does.
Okay.
I'm sure all the guys will be giving you loads of super chats if you actually demonstrate that. Or not that I'm encouraging you. This is a family show, but I'm just saying.
So I always look for the second part. Whenever somebody does this, I'm always thinking that they're gonna do the other
Yeah.
thing. So forgive me for that. Mario Lopez says it was Pablo Hidalgo that made fun of him. Yes, he did. And that's not cool. And Irene says that she fell asleep like 3 times in the same movie watch, and I think she's talking about those films. Unfortunately, Stavros says Jonathan Majors. Oh my gosh, Jonathan Majors, Russ. Oh my gosh, what is the jury? What happened?
What
I haven't
this
been following
I
it.
don't know. I don't know, but that was in reference to when Stavros said earlier on, that's what they get for employing criminals. So I don't know.
Oh. And Stubble says he's not convicted of anything, but the optics aren't good. Yeah, it's not going great, I guess. And Tom says he hasn't been found guilty yet. Yet he hasn't been found guilty. Is it over? Is the thing still going on? And yeah, and Mike Alito says that Rise of Skywalker, he didn't care for it. It was awful, and indifference is much worse than hatred. Um, yes, TFA still a decent flick to watch. TLJ bloody awful. TROS hilarious, ludicrous space comedy. Now, um, what is this? Joe Tyson says I just finished binge watching Devs, 8 episodes last night on Hulu.
Tell us, Joe. We don't know. I don't know what that is. I've watched one episode of Lioness. I thought I'd like to watch that, and that wasn't insufferable. But now, of course, I've got to go back and watch the first season of Reacher because it's so long ago I can't remember what happened in it. And of course, I imagine next week we'll be touching on Reacher because I ain't seen it yet, so I don't want to talk about it this week anyway.
I don't have as much time as I used to stream, which I really have had to cut back a lot of my days of streaming, which is probably going to go down to maybe 2 or 3 days where I can stream. And even when I do stream, it's not going to be as much streaming as I did in 2023, which was
Mm.
a phenomenal amount of streaming that I did. However, um, why did I mention that? I mentioned that because um I think it is very interesting that if we're, like covering different shows, like this year had some incredible movies that came out that were very unusual, but I'm hoping that 2024 things will pick up. But someone was telling me that because of the strike, maybe it might not be till 2025 or 2026 that we get a regular roster of films and shows again, Russ. Now, Reacher is a godsend. Reacher is a show that I don't think I'm going to be disappointed in,
Hmm.
but I think it is very interesting that, as you said before, when we do get these shows that are phenomenal, like Reacher or The Continental, a lot of people don't talk about them.
Show of the year for me, that was.
The Continental?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a fabulous show. I still would like to do a review of it with you one of these days, Russ, like a proper review of just the Continental,
Hmm.
if you have the time. But it's something to think about because it shows the potential of what can be done in a 3 episode story. That's incredibly satisfying. It felt that was a good. There were so many layers on that. Just really, it was a retro 1970s costume action drama that was done right with unusually talented martial artists and fighters. I really like this series. I think that it was worthy of a prequel to
And it's
um
so weird, isn't it? Because like Amazon get kicked in the nuts for their sort of y- intersectional content, and everyone sort of think, but they've got so many shows that just aren't like that. Off the top of my head, there's the one with Chris Pratt that I can never remember the name of, the something list, the terminal
the
list.
Terminal List. Mhm.
There's Reacher that isn't like that. There's that one that isn't like, especially with the sort of with the African American family in it, and they were sort of gun running, and I thought, oh, here we go, Black Panthers, please just don't, and they just didn't. They just didn't mention it at all. In fact, it was the Uno reverse, wasn't it? When the Chinese guy says to her, you people, she's like, you people. It was really cool. Loved it.
And Joe Tyson says Devs is a computer engineer investigates the secretive development division in her company behind the disappearance of her boyfriend. Ooh. Ooh, that
Hmm.
sounds great. And I promise guys, I'm going to pick up the pace in some of these comments that you have, and I also do want to hear your comments about Rebel Moon. As I said, I really don't want it to um please no spoilers, but I'm an adult. I can handle this. Um and where am I? I've lost my place here. Am I this far behind? Yes, I am.
Hmm.
I am this far behind, guys. I'm so sorry. All right. Well, Stubble says that if you hate it, you must have cared or loved it, and had passion. Um, and Stavros says Yu Yu Hakusho had a great first episode. One Piece broke the anime curse. You got to balance your vision with source material. Thank you for mentioning that, and I hope I didn't mispronounce anything. Um, okay, that's some other things that we don't and some of you guys are talking about whether you have Disney Plus or not. Mikey Lito, I had no idea that you were so into football, aka soccer here. And maybe we should go to a game one of these days. Bonzo wants to know if you think Joshua and Wilder will ever fight.
Um, it really depends, doesn't it, on what happens with the IBF strap? Because if whoever wins the undisputed, if that happens, and I really don't think that's going to happen, right? So that's like a side issue. But let's pretend it does for a minute. The word on the street is that as soon as that happened, IBF are going to strip the winner of the IBF strap, right? Joshua has to beat Wallin, who's currently number 2 in the IBF. If he beats Wallin on December the 23rd, that puts him number 1 on the IBF list, which would mean come February when Usyk and Fury fight, if they fight, which I don't believe that they will, but if they were to fight, and it's the rumors are true that IBF will then instantly strip the winner of undisputed of that particular belt, then that would put Joshua in the frame to fight Hergovich for the world championship. I think that it means more to Joshua to be three-time heavyweight champion than it does to potentially get hospitalized by Wilder. Do I think Joshua can beat Wilder? Yes, I do. In fact, I fancy him. I fancy him to beat Wilder. But the problem with Wilder is that he's got that one equalizer, and no one's getting up from it. All right, Tyson Fury got up for it, but he actually trained for that fight, and he was younger then. So, do I think they'll ever fight? I think they will. Yes, yes, I do. Is the long way around of saying that. Yes, I do. But I think for Joshua, he's more about the title than Wilder. That's what I think.
And Chef Nation says, has anyone watched the miniseries Fellow Travelers? I'm not quite sure what you mean by
It's a great
travel.
show. It's the greatest show.
Sorry.
Do you mean Roma? Do you mean travelers that way? Or is it people who are just, going on the road and enjoying a trip? But thank you for asking that, Chef Nation. And Mikey Lito differentiates between gridiron football and association football. And Mr. Orlando's Groovy Movies makes such a good point about this. If you can find some of NBC's wonderful world of Disney and you have kids, that is what you should be allowing them to see.
Yeah, my daughter was brought up on Winnie the Pooh, like
Mhm.
Disney Winnie the Pooh. She loved it, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, all that kind of stuff. And it was none of this madness in it. It was just, Winnie the Pooh and his mates going around, and Mickey and his mates, and Donald, being grumpy, and Scrooge and all that stuff.
I love this. Mr. Londell says Hallmark and Lifetime have cornered the chick movie market, along with American Family, along with all these guys who are trying to do it. Yes, they have. And it probably should, I think they're doing a good job. Bonzo says we need a return to Victorian morality. Put away the girly mags and pick up your hymnals. I can tell how old you are by the
Yeah,
fact
Bonzo's showing his age when he's talking about mags. Come
Yeah.
on, mate.
Girly mags. I know how old you are, Bonzo. And you never throw away a good girly mag. From what I've been told.
I've still got my Pamela Anderson Playboys.
See?
Okay.
God forbid, and I still have my Playgirls. God forbid, Mr. Londo's Groovy Movies, that there should be actual parenting going on in American households. And Mario says, I'm not a hater. I'm a person that really liked what they did in the good old days. Yeah, I think we do. Many of us feel that way. So that is something to think about. And I'm just going to go here. Interesting. Your comments are fantastic, guys. But I do want you, before you go, before we end the show, which is going to be soon, to talk about Rebel Moon, which is something that everybody is anticipating. As I said, Michaelito and I are going on Tuesday to see Rebel Moon together. And I can't wait to see it, to see you there, Mikey Lito, especially since I haven't seen you. Gee, has it been over a year, Mikey Lito, that we have actually seen?
Just to address what Mario is saying here, I'm just personally like they did in the good old days. If they need new stuff, just create new franchises. I would argue, Mario, just do well with the franchises that you have. Who doesn't want another Aliens film? Who doesn't want another Marvel film? Who doesn't want another Star Wars film? But they need to be brilliant. That's kind of the point. And like we're all excited when we hear there's going to be a sequel to Alien or whatever. Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Even though we kind of know that these things should have stopped at two, Alien, Terminator, whatever. But yeah, but yes, also there is a need for new things, but it's been often spoken about, hasn't it? With the cost of things at the moment, everything's gotten so safe. But now, as you were mentioning, Aaron, with these these Christmas channels, and we're seeing things like what's his Jim Caviezel, what's it called, Sound of Freedom, all these little movies now, and A24, and all this stuff suddenly starting to have more and more and more and more and more impact. Because again, I haven't made this up. I heard it on a stream, and it must be one of the drinkers one, because he's one of the few streams I still listen to, actually. And he was saying, people don't have loyalty to Disney, Lucasfilm, Warner Brothers, or Fox. They have loyalty to their entertainment, and if Warner Brothers and Disney aren't providing it, then they'll just go look for it somewhere else, and that seems to be what's happening.
Absolutely. And I did want to mention that I saw a film the other day, which is in the theaters, since we're talking about I do have to just pop it up really quickly. And the movie is called The Man Who Invented Christmas. And of course, it's about Charles Dickens. And when they say invented Christmas, they mean Scrooge. I'm not quite sure why.
Who's in it? I
Um,
can't.
it's the guy from Downton Abbey.
Oh yeah.
What I can't remember his name, but he plays Charles Dickens,
Mhm.
and he has to figure out how he's going to create the Charles Dickens character. He created the character at a point while he was writing where his books were not selling. He's quite a prolific writer. Sorry about the pop-ups. He's quite a prolific writer. It's just that at that point in his career, he was not able to. He wasn't writing anything that anybody was interested in, and I saw it um, recently, and it was actually pretty good. The guy's name is Dan Stevens. So I just figured I'd mention that. Not that anyone is ever going to go watch it, but if you wanted to find out, some more about how it came about, I hope I'm saying the right character. Yeah, it is. Anyway, the other thing I was going to say is Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington and Tom Jr. Jackson and a bunch of you have seen Reacher and are just saying how great it is. Mario says it's Gordon Gekko from Wall Street.
Ah, that's what he was talking about.
And Mr. Londell's Groovy Movie says that Alistair Sims was a good Scrooge, but he likes George C. Scott's Scrooge. And I had forgotten about Blackadder's Christmas Carol. Blackadder, Blackadder. I forgot about that. And one of my favorite parts of that one, if I remember, was the pouch that I think it was from the Christmas Carol, the pouch of money because he had to pay that money back, and it just so happened that he had £1,000 on him, and of course the
Yeah.
king wanted to take the money, and he's like, "My God, you must be wealthy if you have £1,000 and that's just pocket change," or
Mm.
something like. And Blackadder's like, like Baldridge, right? Where the guy's name was Baldridge or something.
Baldrick.
Baldrick. It was so good. Just a really amazing. I think that's his that man's best performance as the Black Adder, um, in my opinion, and the cast. And I remember, was it Samantha Richardson, or she played the queen, right?
Miranda.
Miranda. Gee, I'm totally messed up on the first names. It's been a while, but I'll never forget her performance in that. And she was wonderful. And of course, it's a comedy, guys. So you're supposed to be laughing at these performances, which I think kind of almost mocked a little, like they were almost mocking Shakespeare a bit. But just in a playful way. They could have fit right into a Shakespeare play if you wanted them to. Their performances were so good in these characters. So and thank you for reminding us, Stubble. I had forgotten how much I enjoyed the Black Adder's Christmas. So, Russ, if you don't mind telling us, oh my goodness gracious, you have seen Rebel Moon, Russ. You've
Hmm.
seen it. You went with your daughter. I am curious about your thoughts about this film. Russ, what did you think of Rebel Moon?
It was garbage. No, it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, but I question the wisdom of bringing it out in the cinema because we know that there is an R-rated 3-hour director's cut, and this wasn't that. This was a 2-hour PG-13 cut. So where this film suffers. Sorry, do you want to take that one?
I just popped it up. Where Mary talks about how Hollywood's mistake was wanting to attract new audiences, and it's thereby antagonizing their old fans. An example of what should be done is Cobra Kai.
Exactly. We've spoken about this, sort of many times, haven't we? That's the gold standard essentially of how to do it. Let's just do that. Yeah. So the negatives of Rebel Moon, it's sort of the BVS syndrome, really. Like these aren't spoilers, but essentially, well, I don't know. You know what the plot is, right?
No, I don't know anything about it, and I don't want to know anything about it. I want to be surprised. I want to walk in there and be like, "Oh my god!"
Uh, it's kind of be difficult
You
without
know what?
making.
I'm gonna tune out, and you go ahead and talk. And when you're done, you put the thumbs up. Go ahead and
All right.
speak.
So this, I don't really think this is a spoiler, but the basic idea of it, and it's been mentioned in interviews and things like that. It's essentially Magnificent Seven Samurai, okay, in outer space, and that's all fine and dandy. But when the main character goes off and out to sort of get these people, that's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, when she goes off and out to get those people, they're all like, oh yeah, okay. So they tend to sort of agree very very quickly, and where the longer cut will help in all of this is you'll find out much more about the character motivations and why they're doing things. Um, but what's his name? I'll tell you who. So what happens? Okay, so they go out on their mission and they do all the things, but that's the biggest letdown of the theatrical cut is there's just not enough time. There's not enough space to develop the characters. So it just seems very, very light. And I'm not the first person to have said that. You've seen the reviews of it. Um, I would say one thing on the reviews actually, what I found absolutely disgusting about the Rotten Tomatoes reviews, that this has even been allowed, and these things should be struck, right? Basically that all up to and including Variety are giving the movie really really terrible reviews, but not talking about the movie. They're all mentioning Snyder and his toxic fan base and his toxic fanboys, and they're the only people that are going to like this film. So they are not looking at the movie at all. The thrust of the criticism is Zack Snyder's fans are bad. They're the only people that are going to like this crap. Don't go and see it. They're awful people. That's the thrust of it, and that's why it's got like a 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. On the other side of the fence of Rotten Tomatoes, what you can see, and I have to thank Aaron Fisher for doing the work on this. Basically, he went sort of through the reviews, and it's been review bombed by both sides. So you're basically finding, greatest film ever, fantastic film by Russ Whitfield, one review on Rotten Tomatoes. Worst film ever, hated it, hated it, hated it by our one review, and that's it. So there's a lot of stuff, this fan wars going on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, character development is a little bit light. Storyline is not original, as we've discussed. Like it's based on Kurosawa and all of that stuff. Um, and there endeth my criticism of this film. It looks great. It sounds great. The performances in this are so good. Are just so good. Like there isn't anybody in that movie that you're thinking, oh, you're a bit beyond you're a bit out of your depth here. The standout who we didn't spend long enough with, frankly, in my opinion, is Ray Fisher. That guy was fantastic in this film. I just loved him. I thought his character was great. He was great. He just owned it. He's such a talented young guy, and I really hope that all this WB stuff is put behind him now after this performance, and he gets to go on to have a fulfilling career that his talent absolutely deserves. The lead character, um, you'd think would be a massive girl boss, and there are girl boss moments in this, but it never crosses that line into pastiche and absurdity where she's throwing 300-pound guys around and all the rest of it. Like there's a fight sequence that she has with a guy, and he punches her in the face and she goes down like a sack of spuds, which is exactly what would happen if a guy punched a woman in the face when she wasn't ready for it or not expecting it. She just boom, she goes straight over, and she then resorts to, she has to get a weapon in order to fight effectively again. And that was great, fabulous. That's probably what would happen uh, in our in our space fantasy here. Um, Talking of space fantasy, I've never really been a steampunk or diesel punk. Somebody called this, and I don't know what diesel punk is, but this was described as diesel punk. So the aesthetic is kind of strange, with these sort of military uniforms and it's sort of they're sort of like turn of the beginning of the 20th century military attire that some of the people are wearing and all the rest of it. But it really works for this particular film. It has this sort of Western feel to it, sort of West meets Europe kind of thing, because the baddies like all look like European military of the First World War period and all that stuff. The world building is sumptuous. So when I was talking before about the lack of character development and all that, which I'm sure will get addressed in the director's cut, I just wanted to find out more about them, about the assassin, about the general, about all of these people that the main character brings together. Um, and then you want to find out more. Well, hold on a minute. So you've got this sort of like resistance. Well, where do they come from? And what about these guys? And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there wanting to know more and more and more about the lore of Rebel Moon. And apparently, we're going to get all that we can handle about the lore of Rebel Moon. Um, so yeah, um, it's I can't really give it a score because it's kind of like I saw a censored version, the kids version, because it was PG-13. There's so much missing from it, you know. As I say, I rather feel it was a mistake to bring it out, and if they were going to bring it out, see, here's the thing: the only people that are going to go and see it are Zachalites, right? We're the only ones that are actually going to put our money down, and or by and large, the vast majority are going to be Zachalites. So just release the full thing. That would have been my strategy. But you know what? I wanted to go and support it. I wanted to give them my money, and I'll leave it on repeat on the telly. Of course, I will. Um, all of that stuff. But yeah, this is asinine. They are really trying to destroy this movie. And I don't know what the agenda is against Snyder. I really don't. I just saw the Forbes headline you put up with, like, the glee of that headline, disastrous. That's like there seems to be an agenda here. Maybe it's a studio agenda against a streaming company. I don't know, but this is not a 23% movie. I'm sorry. It's asinine. It's asinine and it's spiteful and it's pathetic, frankly.
Yeah, I don't even believe that mark. Like, that's 23 reviews, and there'll probably be a couple of hundred professional reviewers who will look at it by the end of, let's say, by the end of this month, who would
Mm.
have reviewed it. But 500 reviews of audience goers seem to love the film and give it positive comments. So, even looking at the articles, Russ, they're not like it's very odd. This doesn't look, I believe you, of course, 100%. And I just don't believe what, like the comments about borderline incoherent, or, it
No,
doesn't
it's
make
it's
any sense.
nonsense. That is how is a film so simple with such a famous plot that everybody knows? Everybody knows this plot, right? How is it incoherent? It's not incoherent. It's just, ah, that just makes me so mad. It's like, but hey, what, mainstream media in gaslighting the audience? Shock.
Yeah, and it seems like it is quite a directed thing towards the film, and it's confusing because it looks good. Like, this
It's
film looks
awesome.
good.
It's awesome. It's really quite funny as well because all the baddies at the beginning are South African, which made me laugh. Like, these people are reprehensible. These guys, oh no, get over here, get over here. It's just brilliant, brilliant.
And
And that's another
and
thing. That's another thing about it as well. That the use of accents is really, really, really well done. And with this is it's essentially like another one of Snyder's graphic novels come to life. There's a guy
mm,
who he's very Jason Momoa esque. He's got the hair and he's got these really bright blue eyes, and yeah, you'll love it. He walks around the entire time with his shirt off, like that's just his thing. He just doesn't wear a shirt, which is kind of silly, but it's not silly in a comic. You know what I mean? And it seems to be like this is definitely a graphic novel made real in the same way that leather underpants and no armor was ridiculous in 300, but it works because nothing is absurd as long as the thing obey, as long as you obey the rules of your own universe. You know, you're A for a way. So okay, right, fine. It's warm and he doesn't wear a shirt, whatever. But yeah, you'll enjoy it.
Can we credit action films or, let's say, Asian films where the main character, if they have to fight, removes their shirt? Can we credit them with
It was
doing
all
that
Bruce
from
Lee used to do that, didn't he?
Yes, and I'm wondering if it's not just, let's say, if we even go further back in time, was it something from the 50s? Was it something from the 40s where the person would remove their shirt and fight? I mean, is it something that they are maybe even introduced to it becoming a standard of having to see,
Well, this guy doesn't put his shirt on to start off with. Like there is no shirt. There is like a sort of a cloak every now and again, but no, he's just walking around. When you see him, you to see him is to love him. Let's just put it that way.
So it's
That
is it reminiscent of Predator with Schwarzenegger and Weathers walking around with their oiled chests at
yes,
the
yeah,
point?
there's plenty of that. There's plenty. Everyone is gorgeous in it. I mean, Sophia Butella. I would have. You know what? What I was going to say is that there's some brilliant accents in this. Like they're using people's accents, and it works really, really well. Although why Charlie Hunnam decided to go for an Irish accent, I don't know, but he did. And there's something that sort of links to that at the end, maybe I don't know. So there's something about that, but the accents that they use are quite exotic. But with the Sophia Botella as the main character, obviously she has a sort of French sounding accent. I could have done with her been a bit Gal Gadot in size. She's
Mm.
just a little bit. If she'd have been a big, tall Charlize gal, Sigourney,
5'10", 5'11", kind of.
yes, that I think that would have worked better, just for my sense of aesthetic. But man, she looks so good. There's a bunch of flashbacks, and when you see her in the flashback, she looks awesome. Like she looks absolutely awesome. Um, in fact, everything in this film looks awesome. But my main takeaway from it is, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Yes, I would absolutely. Of course, I'm going to watch the second one because I'm a huge fanboy. But it made me. If there's a novel, I'll buy it. Let's just put it. I want to know. I want to know
Is there a
how did
graphic
this.
novel?
No, a novel,
Oh,
book, or any. Yeah, I want to kind of it feels like a universe that you want to immerse yourself in the same way that you once did with Star Wars. I think that and that's obviously the point. It's obviously the point of it. This is going to be a Star Wars film. Everybody knows that. And now Snyder's crafted this Star Wars ripoff, I guess you would call it. But he's obviously allowed to break rules and do what the hell he likes. Um, yeah, it was really good, man. It was really good. No, I have to qualify that. Potentially, it's going to be great. Potentially great, but this is just like a PG-13 2-hour cut, and I can't call it. But from what I've seen, yeah, I want to know more. Would you like to know more? Yes, I would.
yes, yes, I would. I pressed the button as if it was Starship Troopers.
Mhm.
Bonzo Kilborn says, "I'm sure Artem would love to touch on Reacher." Oh, Bonzo! My gosh! Wow. Um, I'm gonna watch season 2 of Reacher. I loved season 1. I've watched it so many times. Yes. Yeah. Maybe you hit the nail on the head. And Retro Nerd Girl says, "I'm looking forward to your Rome channel." Yes, I can't wait either. Retro Nerd
Yeah.
Girl, it's going to be so wonderful.
Did I talk about this last week about Tony and all that?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
About,
So there'll be
so
some good stuff on there, retro.
yes, and I can't wait to share it with all of you. Looking forward to it. Also, let's see. Uh, okay. A performing artist. We're still going to talk about Rebel Moon. We're not done with this conversation, Russ, but I just wanted to throw these out. A
Mm.
performing artist says, I probably missed in a prior week, but what did you all think of the Nicolas Cage movie Dream Scenario? It was a peculiar scene I thought you both would appreciate. I haven't seen it.
I haven't
Have you
seen it.
seen Dream Scenario? You have not.
No, I don't get much time to watch films these days. So when I do sit down and watch them, like, do you know what I've taken? I've actually got back into reading, and that's taken up a lot of my time lately. So no, I haven't a performing artist. I'm sorry about that. In fact, I haven't seen any of his films lately, and apparently that Mandy one was really good, and the Unbearable Weight of Talent was apparently brilliant, and he's done so many good things. And there was a Lovecraft one that he did, Color of Space or something like that. Apparently, that's all. Fuck it, maybe I'll just have some relaxing cigarettes tonight and just have a fucking cage-a-thon.
Maybe we should. I would recommend starting off with a movie he did called Pig.
Hmm.
And that was by far my favorite film of his over the past few years. And
What's
I'm
it
sorry,
about?
it's about a man who this is gonna be hard to describe because it is so esoteric.
Okay, well, tell me
Uh,
after, because we're gonna have a chat after anyway, aren't we?
okay.
All right.
Um, a performing artist. I'm gonna watch Dream Scenario this week and get back to you about it. I did see Pig, which I enjoyed tremendously, and I did a review of Pig a few years ago. I thought that was one of his bests. I also saw another one where that had to do where he was in an arcade. I don't know the name of the film, but I enjoyed that one as well. So I haven't been hating like his performances are very interesting when he is able to kind of go in different directions. But Pig for me by far was the best. Was Dream Scenario like Pig in your opinion? If you did see it, a performing artist, please let us know, and I will watch it and get back to you. And Chef Nation says Fellow Travelers is a show on Showtime that takes place during the McCarthy era. Oh, that is very interesting. I have also not watched Leave the World Behind yet. Joy, I feel like I'm really behind. Um, so there's that. And Michaelito says I'm looking forward to it. Art, it'll be exciting to see the Christmas city during Christmas time. The weather forecast seems to be clearing up. Yes, Michaelito, it's going to be after this storm that is coming tomorrow night. Can't wait to see you. Joe Tyson says there's a movie reference Easter egg to the season 2 episode 1 Reacher episode that made me choke on my tea. My goodness. Oops. I'm sorry. And also let's see what else is going on. Yes. Oh, Retro Nerd Girl says the man who invented Christmas, one of my favorites. Yes. It wasn't it great, Retro Nerd Girl? Finally somebody else who saw it. And are you excited for the finale of the trilogy started with X, Pearl, and now the upcoming Maxine? It was an all-star cast. I don't believe it's getting enough attention. It isn't getting enough attention. Certainly, yes, I am. And I was going to say the lady who stars in it, and I know Tom Jr. Jackson watched it. I think that actress is fantastic. So yes, let's see how that goes. I am excited for it. And I hope I'm talking about the right one with X and Pearl, where Pearl is more of these are films that I'm not going to call them independent films, but um, one was about I believe pornography, the pornography industry, and the other one is about a girl on a farm. Very different types of films, and not a lot of people watch these sort of more independent style films, although it may not be an independent film company, it may be a major studio, but I'm sure Tom Jr. Jackson has watched these because he's asked me about it. Yes, I am excited. I hope we get so many more films like these two performing artists. I don't know anything about Maxine. Is that the name of the film? And I didn't know that you were into films like that. So please do come back and keep asking questions about these. I certainly do enjoy talking about films that have a different twist to them, a performing artist. And what else did I want to mention, Russ? Russ, I think that when Michaelito and I had to find a film or theater that was playing Rebel Moon, and we have to go into the city, which is not a big deal. Like we go into the city all the time, but we have to go into the city to see it at a theater. I can't remember the name of the theater, but it's a theater that does show independent films. So it is different where normally if we wanted to see a film, Michaelito and I could go to any theater pretty much in New York where we live. There are a lot of films that we can go see just down the street. But
Mhm.
we had to go to a special theater. So we're going to be at that theater on Tuesday. I think we have a 12 o'clock show and we're both looking forward to this tremendously. It's maybe even like the event of the holiday for us outside of Aquaman 2.
Mm.
So this one is kind of a big deal. I think this is something that I have great expectations for, not just in the performance, but the way that you described it, Russ. Just the character development and the story and the world building sounds incredible. And I know Michaelito and I are just going to be like, what?
Well,
Like,
I would say the character development in this cut is the one thing that's lacking. It all moves a little bit too quickly. So I
mhm.
would temper your expectations, but bear in mind, you know, you're almost you're not seeing the full thing, and I do think that was a mistake. They should have known that it was acolytes that were going to go and watch this, and they just should have said, "Fuck it, just release the 3.5 hour cut. They'll sit still for it." And you know what? I would have done, although it was quite late last night watching that film. But yeah, be temper your expectations.
Interesting. Tom says that people are review bombing it because they didn't get the DC movies that they wanted to. So this is their way of throwing a fit. That's interesting, Tom.
Yeah, maybe so, Tom. But you know, I would say that if you work for Variety, you should be reviewing the film. And this, but look, if I was a critic and I wanted to rip this film a new one, I absolutely could, based on the lack of motivation and character development. And you can sit there until you're blue in the face and go, "Well, it's not the full version." So they're supposed to judge the film on its merits and what they sat there and what they saw on their free showing. But they didn't. They couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to get out and start having a go at horrible fans. And that's disgusting. That is just you like you're supposed to be a professional. Like just and that, and that is the problem. And Rob was talking about this on his show the other day about that author. And
Yes.
this whole thing,
Oh God,
this
that
whole
girl
thing,
who
yeah, and this
that was
whole
hard.
review bombing by the Access media of Zack Snyder because they don't like his fans, because his fans, and there are some out of order fans in there. There really are, and you can't deny it. And it's the same with every fan base. It's not like it's just Zack Snyder fans. There's all sorts of hateful people out there that will say hateful things. But I just think it's absolutely disgusting, absolutely reprehensible. To try and essentially like like the man himself. He's got a lot riding on this. You're trying to kill his fucking career because you don't like something one of his fans live, and you don't like. I mean, these people, these fucking people, are always the ones calling us man babies. Oh, man baby's crying. Man baby's crying. What? But it's okay for you because he made a version of Superman that you didn't like or understand. Who's the fucking man baby? They can go and fucking do one. I'm really cross about it. I'm really, really cross about this actually. Like, if you're criticizing the film, it's one thing. You can tear lumps out of it, like I've said. You absolutely can if you're a professional critic and that's what you want to do. But to be as there's no accountability. There's just no accountability anymore. And they're just like, oh, yeah, I don't like Zack Snyder because he's not my Superman. Whereas if you actually look at Man of Steel, it addressed every single point that these idiots complained about in Superman Returns. Oh, Superman Returns doesn't do anything new with the character, doesn't do anything new with it. Zack Snyder does something new with the character. Oh, it didn't have enough action. Zack Snyder gives you action. Oh, he didn't have the and then, oh, it's not my Superman. Oh, they must go and do one. They really must. Anyway, fuck them. I enjoyed it.
That old Yorkshire geek says I generally like Snyder's films, so I think I'll enjoy Rebel Moon. So
It's very,
glad
it's
to hear
very,
that.
it's very Snydery. It's got all of the things that you would expect. And the weird thing is what he has this kind of like soft focus effect going on in a lot of the movie, and it does give it a sort of fantasy dreamlike quality. It's really good, man. Honestly, it's really good.
Yes. Mike Alita says you'll get my honest opinion about Rebel Moon on Thursday at 10 p.m. GMT, which is when I think he's going to go ahead and post his review. Mario says they hate Zack Snyder because they hate the Snyder fans. Oh, wouch.
Yeah,
Ouch.
they really do.
Yeah. Um, That is insane. Um, now, what else was I going to say here? Shirtless, what, who? Yes. Uh,
I think his name's Prince Tarek, I think is his name, and what's his name? Jimon Honsu's also. He's also been down the gym. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Darth Plato's been coming out with a lot of one-liners that I think can really define, have such incredible moments in the show. Here's one: the Celts fought in the nude. Mic drop. Everything that has been said about today, has been said. We don't even need to speak anymore. Thank you, Darth Plato. Um, and I think it is kind of shirtless Sundays. We were supposed to do shirtless Sunday. We're not going to do shirtless Sunday. Maybe it might have to happen
Are we
next
not?
year, um because we kind of weren't able to hit our fitness goals, but we are going to hit our fitness goals, but maybe not in 2023, Russ. In 2024 might be the one. And what else did I want to say? Oh, here we go. Steve Reeves, Hercules 1959, shirtless.
Shirtless.
Okay, I'm just trying to think of the earliest known instance of, let's say, action or heroes where they don't have shirts on, and who might have started that trend where we needed to see men show their physique being shirtless. And thank you, whatever person wrote that into the script. Thank you so much for doing that for me in particular. I appreciate it. And also, I can't pronounce this word. Do you know how to say this word, Russ?
Guest,
And who are the gayest I?
I've no idea. I don't know who they.
But
I
they
thought it.
fought naked too. Um, uh, well, something, I have to say, I'm so excited for Rebel Moon. I'm so excited to go see this film with Michael Leto. We're going to go into the city. We're going to see all these sort of Christmassy sights. Well, maybe we
Mm.
won't see all the Christmassy sights, Mikey Leto, but it's been a while since we've hung out, and it's long overdue. I'm excited for it. Um, yes, I do recommend Pig, which is a phenomenal film. Nicolas Cage, pretty much they should be writing films like this for him 24/7. Um, thank you so much, Mr. Londo Groovy Movies, who also supports Pig. Have you ever seen Pig, Russ?
No.
If you want to have a laugh, I think it's entertaining film. It's an entertaining film. It's a fun film. If you want to have a laugh, that's the film you need to watch. If you want to be entertained, it's entertaining. And that's what cinematography is supposed to be about. Sorry, filmmaking, cinematography, this whole thing is to entertain the audience. This one really does.
Oh, Darth Plato was talking about the Getae, I think. The sort of
Oh,
like the Eastern European lot. Because I
nice.
thought it was spelled Getai. Fucking was in Gladiatrix anyway, so sorry if I got that wrong.
And Tom Jr. Jackson says, my favorite version of Christmas Carol is Rich Little's Christmas Carol, where he plays all the characters as different old time movie stars and TV stars. I mean, he performs Tiny Tim as Truman Capote. This sounds amazing. Tom Jr. Jackson, thank you for doing that. And recommending that. I have not seen that. Have you seen that, Russ?
Uh,
It sounds so unbelievable. And Old Yorkshire Geek chimes in about X, but he says X was okay, but he loved Pearl. Mia Goth should get all the awards. Yes,
it sounds like
certainly.
such a made up name, Mia Goth. I think because it's like Mia's such a goth name, right? You know.
It is. It is. Yes. And certainly I like films that are different. I liked Titan, guys. So, I like these kind of different twisty odd films. I haven't seen Poor Things yet. But they did in the trailer talk about, or at least the main character says, she has sex with somebody and she says, why isn't everybody doing this all the time? So, it's a little obvious. However, they want you to see a character that has a sexual relationship, which I think is fantastic. We need to see more of that. Just some kind of unusual, um, out there, outside of the box stories, which are fun. So thank you for sharing that, Old Yorkshire Geek, that you're a fan of it. And we do have several fans in here who are fans of it. Stubble says he's looking forward to Megalopolis. Hope it's
Megalopolis.
good. Yes.
Is that the
Yes.
Francis Ford Coppola one, isn't it?
I believe it is. I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to it. And thank you, Mike Alito. It is at the Paris. It's at the Paris theater, right? That we're going to. It's on my phone. I don't have my phone near me, or else I could say so. And Tom Jr. Jackson did review X and Pearl on his channel in October, guys. So make sure you check out Tom Jr. Jackson's channel. And the Outcast Creative is here. Hi, Lance, who's
Hi,
popping
Lance.
in to wish both of us a Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you, Lance. I hope everything is going well with you. Um, so, Russ, any final thoughts about, oh my gosh, um, goodness gracious, Mikey Lito, really? So many men in the PGS are jealous of me. Eat your heart out. What? You guys are so much fun to talk to. And I just want to thank everybody who's here, including Rogue Thinker, who's here. Um, the one who didn't understand Superman was Zach. Your head canon doesn't change that.
You need to go
But
ahead and read New 52, mate, and then come back.
but his Batman was okay, nothing against him. Well, thank you for sharing that. Rogue Thinker, good to see you. Hope you are well, Rogue Thinker. And a performing artist says Mia Goth gets the best monologue of the horror movie year last year with Pearl. It was an acting masterclass. And yes, I think if we get to see things like that, we certainly are going to be entertained and get a different type of performance art that we have really been lacking because people have been afraid to do performance art like that. Michael Ita says, I love you too, baby. um, so there is that, guys. Yeah, thank you, Bonzo. I guess we're doing a shirtless St. Patrick's Day 2024. I guess we've pushed it down the calendar, but I assure you guys we're not going to disappoint you. So just keep that in mind. We are still here. Yes, Lou Ferrigno Hercules. Well, that I think that was after 1959, but certainly that's something to think about. And yes, thank you so much. Retro Nurgle says in The Thief of Baghdad, Douglas Fairbanks in the 20s, he was shirtless a lot in that film. Thank you so much, Retro
Yeah, oh God, he
Nurgle.
was. And then I was just thinking, what was his name? Burt Lancaster and all those people, Captain Blood and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes,
Errol Flynn, My Wicked Wicked Ways.
burn the shirts, gentlemen. Burn those shirts. We're fine if you don't wear one. Um, that's my thought on it. Going forward. Old Yorkshire Geek says that she's astonishingly good in Pearl. Yes, she is astonishingly good in that. So I would also recommend those, and I'm glad you brought them up, Old Yorkshire Geek. Let's see whether she gets in. I don't know whether the nominations went out, but let's see. Does anybody know before we close the show about that? And Stubble says that yes, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't sometimes reflect the film as controversial film, and it gets 50%, which suggests in the middle of the road when it's the opposite of that. Do you think that the audience score is more accurate than the reviewer score, Russ?
In this instance, yeah, definitely. But the whole, I mean, we know about it because we follow the channels that investigate this sort of thing. But for most normies, it's still a sort of good standard of what constitutes a good film, what doesn't constitute a good film, even though we know that it's been completely kiboshed, and people are getting paid to write reviews and so on and so on. So yeah, but even in the case of this, it's getting review bombed from both sides. As I said, there's positive 10-star reviews with, I've only got one review, and 0-star reviews with only one review. So in the case of Zack Snyder, he's just polarizing, isn't he?
It's ridiculous. And it's a shame. Rogue Thinker says, I like the Henry Winkler American Christmas Carol. Good feel to that one. Kind of serious and less comical. Well, thank you for mentioning that, Rogue Thinker. I was unaware of it. And I think I'm going to check that one out. Old Yorkshire Geek says it's her real name, Mia Gypsy Mello de Silva Goth. And for practical purposes, she shortened it, guys. She could not say this the entire time. So that seems to make sense. Yes, now I know it's Douglas Fairbanks. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Tom, who sent me the link to the Christmas special that he mentioned. Guys, thank you so much for sharing all of your Christmas special things and what you do for Christmas and what you want to watch, what you're doing, what's coming up. Um, Tom Jr. Jackson says, just a reminder, his birthday is December 24th and he's turning 49. Wow,
Jesus, I'm
Tom. My
53 in January. I of A.
yes, well, guys, for those of you who we're going to see Tom, but happy birthday. Happy holidays to everybody who is here. Hope you are enjoying. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a Sunday brunch on Sunday because it is Christmas Eve. So I might come on just for a short moment and wish you guys a happy holidays, but I don't think I'll be doing a regular show. It won't be a regular show. It'll just be, just wishing you all happy holidays to your family and friends. But I won't stay on long, nearly as long as 2 hours like we did today, Russ. Just to wish people a happy holidays. Rogue Thinker says Merry Christmas to all, and to all a farewell and enjoy. Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for watching Sunday Brunch. Russ, any final comments or thoughts that you would like to say?
No. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next week, I guess.
Absolutely. Michaelito says, Happy holidays, Merry Christmas for all you MAGA Republicans as well out there. Yes, Merry Christmas to everybody. Love the holidays. We're celebrating together, regardless, guys, because we're going to go old school and celebrate with everybody. Or, like, if you're in the military and you've got each other's back, that's how we roll here. Yes. Thank you guys for watching Sunday Brunch Live. Yeah, as I said, Mario, I think I'm probably just gonna pop on just for a few minutes, and just wish everybody a wonderful holiday. Um, and sure, Stavros, anytime, guys, you can bring your strong opinions here. It's sometimes it's good to have strong opinions about things. And guys, none of us are all going to agree on everything. We just want to hear what you have to say because sometimes it's better just to hear something different. Sometimes, right, Russ? Like sometimes
Yeah,
it's refreshing to hear something different.
I don't really don't mind if criticism is legit, or I just don't like it. That's literally legit
Mhm.
criticism. Is like, I think it's shit. It's just it's not for me. That's absolutely fine. What I don't like is bandwagoning.
Yeah.
I really don't like that at all.
And Stavros, we appreciate you. Happy holidays, Stavros. Tom Jr. Jackson says, I might watch The Bells of St. Mary's. Yes, with Bing Crosby. I can't remember who else is in that, but I think it's Bing Crosby.
Probably Danny Kaye, because he was in with everything in with Bing Crosby, wasn't he?
It might be Ingrid Bergman. I'm not sure if she plays a nun in that, but it's about, he's a priest and they take care of kids in an orphanage. And I think St. Mary's, it might be that. Retro Nerd Girl says, take care, everyone, and have a wonderful week ahead. Merry Christmas, Retro Nerd Girl. Merry Christmas. So great to have you here as well. Also, performing artist, I need to watch that Brandon Cronenberg film, Mia Goth Infinite Pool. Yes. And come back, a performing artist, and tell us what's on your mind about Mia Goth and anything else that is on your mind for this holiday season. So good to have you here. Don't forget the thumbs up. Yes, Joe Tyson. And guys, everybody, just so glad. Merry Christmas to all of you. So wonderful. Oh, thank you so much, performing artist who says, thank you, Russ and Arden, for doing what y'all do. Branching on YouTube every Sunday. Yes. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to Darth Plato as well, guys. Merry Christmas to everybody, as well as you, Stubble, McShave out there, guys. Don't forget, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. A special Merry Christmas and thank you to Irene for the super chat, guys. Happy holidays. Like I said, I'll be on just for 15 minutes next Sunday just to wish you all a Merry Christmas Eve. Take care, everybody.
Merry Christmas, guys.